I've got to show you some additional new features that we have for the crop tool inside Photoshop CS6. It's absolutely awesome stuff. So before we actually do this, make sure you revert your file all the way back. So if you've actually applied a crop or anything like that, just go all the way back, hit F12 on your keyboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap the C key on my keyboard to activate the crop tool. In previous versions of Photoshop, any content that appears outside of the crop frame, if I just kind of quickly resize and adjust my crop frame, any content that appears outside of the cropped frame becomes deleted. Inside Photoshop CS6, believe it or not, we have the option to keep the material and, in other words, readjust our crop whenever we want. And this is absolutely awesome. This is incredible. I love this. So across the top of your screen on the options bar, make sure to uncheck delete cropped pixels. Make sure this guy is not checked. Okay? And then what we would do is we'd go and set up our crop. Maybe what I'll do, just as a sort of an obvious example here, is I'll scale right in on my barn here, something like this, right? And then I have the delete cropped pixels option deactivated on the options bar, and I'm going to go ahead and either double click or hit enter on my keyboard to apply the crop. Okay? So let's say I save the file and I close out of them, and at some point later on in the future, I come back to this guy and I go, you know, I didn't quite crop that the way I wanted, or, you know, what was I thinking that day? You know, this kind of stuff, right? So I'm going to go back to the crop tool for a moment here. And of course, I get the resize handles all the way around the outside edge of the canvas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dragging on these guys. And lo and behold, the entire image is still there. In other words, this is what I would call a non-destructive crop, which is absolutely awesome. You'll find here inside Photoshop, and I haven't mentioned this yet, but you'll find inside Photoshop as we work along, there are ways to destructively edit your image, and there are ways to non-destructively edit your image, or perhaps apply effects to your image. And of course, what I'm always trying to do is non-destructively work on my images. So now the ability to have a non-destructive crop is absolutely awesome. And I hope you like it as well. So all we have to do is just make sure that delete cropped pixels across the top is not marked. And we can certainly come back and make changes to our crop. A few lessons back, I was showing you sort of a traditional way to straighten your images using the ruler tool. That's all fine and well, but check this out. At the top of our screen on the options bar, we have a straighten option here. Go ahead and click on this guy, and what happens is our cursor changes to a ruler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag along what I think is a straight edge inside my image, or along an edge inside my image that I want to use as the straight marker, if you will. And when I let go with my cursor, Photoshop automatically rotates the image for me. So now this edge is now perfectly straight, perfectly set to 90 degrees. Now, believe it or not, there's even more to show you here. There's one more set of options that I want to bounce off of you here, and that is the options that we have available underneath this gear drop-down menu. Go ahead and pop into this guy. Now, right off the bat, what we can do is we can switch out to use Photoshop's classic crop mode. You're more than welcome to make use of that if you want. However, as you might imagine, I am so in love with the new crop tool inside Photoshop CS6 that I don't see myself going back anytime soon. We have Auto Center the crop preview inside the screen. Show cropped area. Well, I could uncheck that if I don't want to see all of the content that's about to get cropped away from my image. That's entirely up to you. It's just a visual there. And as you can see, there's a keystroke equivalent, just the H key on your keyboard. Beneath that, we have Enable Cropped Shield. What the heck is that? Well, if I uncheck that, you'll notice that the material that appears on the outside edge of my crop frame is no longer grayed out. That's what the crop shield is. Maybe you want to change the color or perhaps the opacity and so on and so on. You're more than welcome to go and have some fun and go and adjust the actual crop shield if you really, really want to. And again, myself, I'm completely satisfied with the defaults But again, yourself, you may want to go and make some changes there. It's up to you. So that's all we have underneath this drop-down menu. Show the cropped area, the cropped shield, the auto center, and using the classic crop mode.